Previously, we spoke of how there is an unprecedented rise in disease today and the important questions that are missing from its investigation. We also spoke of the existence of a vast, established science of ancient health practices in many parts of the world, including India. We spoke of how science grows by building on knowledge from all parts of the world, but the prevalence of industrial science is disconnecting food from health and keeping out the science of ancient health practices despite large scale following and demonstrated success by many, including Dr. Khadar Wali.
In ancient practices, they never said it is science.
So, what does this mean that in ancient practices they never called it science? Euclid, the great Greek thinker, said, "The laws of nature are but the mathematical thoughts of God." Whether we choose to use the word God or prefer creative power or energy is a matter of semantics. What's important is that if we keep human interference out and observe animal and plants in nature, we begin to notice the scientific precision built into natural laws. What we call science is a subject, an intellectual tool, really, created in the last few decades or a few hundred years to understand the scientific perfection that runs this huge creation and the natural biological world. Nature's science predates and encapsulates man made science that is still evolving and trying to catch up to it. It is from the magnificence of nature's scientific labs that ancient practices rise. We got a glimpse of it when talking about Giloy, but that is the proverbial tip of the iceberg.
And I personally think we have so much results, not only in my place, it actually has now transcended all the borders.
And establishing their power, healing tens and thousands of people, relieving them of various conditions, many of whom had been deemed to lifelong drugs or written off by other doctors.
That results has been pouring in and day out. Now,
and because there are no side effects, they are completely
Absolute.
safe.
Safe.
Right?
That's what I have made sure. My procedures, whatever I have said, delineated, are safe.
Ancient practices, passed from generation to generation, hold strong the knowledge because they have been observed over centuries to be safe, powerful, full of beauty and simplicity.
I have studied homeopathy, I have studied allopathy, I have studied Ayurveda, Bhasma making, all this.
Yes.
I want the concoctions to be done by the nature itself. And the
Right.
best method of is decoctions. That's how I have come up with food and decoctions should solve all our problems. This is the basic logic behind what I have done.
Yes.
And that should be more than enough because we have been able to heal so many kinds of people.
That is because, in the science of ancient health practices, health is a byproduct of order and balance attained when all elements in the ecosystem are allowed to work properly. Disease is not cured by zeroing into a part of the body and managing symptoms with painkillers and immune suppressants. That approach weakens the immunity further, is filled with side effects, and creates more problems. Ancient health practices, as compiled by Dr. Khadar, detect the disorder, stop its causes, and restore balance and proper functioning with the right food and simple herbal decoctions. Health is actually a byproduct of order, harmony, and balance.
Whatever problems you have, we need to be able to group them into the tables protocols is based on the organs problems that they are facing. But I actually do, when people come and sit in front of me, I don't even use the protocols. I have generated the protocols. I group them into microbial imbalance, hormonal imbalance, glucose imbalance. And most of them have all the three. But what is the predominating, presenting condition? then we consider that, and which can help that, we go with that kind of. That's how I treat people. So basically, everyone on this planet right now are imbalanced in these three domains only, nothing else. Because antibiotics, steroids, and all that, from day one we have been pumping ourselves, whether you like it or not. Even if you eat an egg, you are putting this stuff. Even if you eat paneer, the preservatives and the chemicals, you are screwing it up. That is basic. And milk, people have been drinking tons of milk from the childhood. So obviously, and glucose imbalance is much more in foreign countries, because sugar, tons and tons of it. Average American takes, I think, around 2 kilos of sugar in a week, I think. I may be actually on the lower side telling
Underestimating.
that. Underestimating.
Yeah.
So that is amazingly unscientific, but then no doctor is talking about it.
Yeah.
So if I can educate people within half an hour, this much, and give them this glucose regulating food and the decoctions, and then the microbial imbalance being corrected through like porridge, khameer, or fermented foods like idli, dosa, or something like that. You tell them this is what you do. No need to test. No money is involved. In fact, that's how I am actually presenting all these things. And no one is paying me. And lakhs of people are curing themselves. Yesterday, I had a cancer class. We group 20 cancer patients and then talk about it. And then they all tell their problems. We tell them this is this. And we have a healing percentage of 90 people. 100 out of 90 out of 100 are all getting better. And diabetes, 100 out of 100.
The science of ancient health practices is able to reverse disease because it sees it as an imbalance, a temporary deviation which, when corrected, restores health. Much like knowing how to keep a motor clean with best practices, clean oil, clean fuel, and periodic maintenance and cleaning so that the machine keeps moving flawlessly. Disease and its correction therefore forms only a small part of a much larger body of knowledge devoted to maintaining overall balance and health.
Ayurveda is not a medicinal system. It is Ayurveda. That means from birth to death. That is called Ayush. Ayush means the lifetime.
Life, yes.
I have
Span.
this much Ayush, I have this much span, lifespan.
Yes.
Veda. Veda is a generic word where you say about it, about that, about whatever you call.
Knowledge or study.
No, yeah, study of that. So Ayurveda. So how do you conduct yourself on this planet to lead a healthy life?
Right.
And in between there is a small branching out that when you become sick, what do you do? Then it is associated with the natural systems, and then you get out of the sickness.
Yes.
And the people who were becoming sick were very rare. That's what was attracting point for me from Ayurvedic system. Though I have studied various systems of medicine, homeopathy, Tibetan medicine, again in the last 40-50 years only, even in India, Ayurveda is now recognized as a medical system. It is much bigger than that. It is much
right.
bigger. Okay, so they have got a small section of that and then calling that as Ayurveda, because they have again tried to incorporate all the commercial aspects of this Western medicine. In fact, it is filled with all these commercial aspects.
Is commercialization and over commercialization of health at the bottom of the problems we are seeing today? Is that blinding and preventing us from seeing what is clear and from asking what is loud and looming large?
To give importance to everything that pops up and understand at least to some extent whether it is popping up just because it is popping up, or there is some deep inner connections to all these things. The same thing, like you have given antibiotics and people are falling sick every now and then. Why are they falling? So antibiotics by name itself means we are wiping out our microbes in the gut.
Yes.
And we have known long back that there are microbes that are to be there to live symbiotically. So what is the logic? So how do I increase the microbial population in the tummy? So where are they coming from to the human body? How did they appear in the olden days? So it is through the grains, it is through the vegetables, it is through the things, and it is through working in the soils. We have
Yes.
been, and then the body, whatever it needs, it makes them grow, and other things that are being thrown out. So there is a system, an intelligent system in each and every animal and human, which takes required things and throws unrequired things. But if only we produce the right environment, we can make that happen. So that's why I keep telling, get up in the morning, see the sun rays, because without seeing the sun rays, you cannot get vitamin D. And without vitamin D, you cannot make vitamin B12 without microbes. So these two are connected. So having done these physiological reactions in the body and enormous amount of knowledge makes you put things together and say, what is that simple equation that we can come? And ultimately, my job is not just being a scientist. My job is to help the poor man on the street, because he's struggling with just to live. He has to make money, and he doesn't have time to understand all these nuances that are presented by nature. And the so-called educated, intellectual, literate world has been without any concern the 80% of the common man.
You're making these
Defined.
observations, you're making these connections and hypotheses, and
Yes.
the science of life. Health
Compartment.
is not a
And then
compartment.
compartment.
Health is
It
is a stream, right?
health,
We can
food,
say
environment, agriculture,
what
all
we
are
do, what we do,
Absolutely.
how we do, all that
Yes.
they become important parameters,
Absolutely.
right?
So this breaking down in itself is an unscientific thing, especially when it comes to biological world.
Does this boxed in approach to biological sciences have any bearing on what we are seeing today? Our own compartmentalization and lockdown. Today, California outpaces many countries in the number of new cases. How does the science of ancient health practices approach this problem that is engulfing entire humanity? Stay with Dr. Khader and me to find out.